In the summer of 2007, Vladimir Putin traveled to the United States to hang out with George Bush. I said this meeting was significant then. Few people listened. In fact, a lot of people thought that I pretty much lost my mind to be suggesting a stage managed World War III scenario. Very few people on the controlled left and right have really understood myself or my commentary over the years regarding these individuals, regarding the lack of trust that I've had in both RT and Putin. Years ago, we're going back 10 years when RT was first starting out, when it was still the old school Alex Jones. I questioned why people were flocking to foreign networks for information. Just something within me was just naturally suspicious. And now, after all this time, that suspicion was warranted. So, I see somebody on social media, people like to blame the media, but not appreciate the independent media, non controlled opposition, alternative media. A lot of people just don't even recognize the things that I've done and the consistency, consistently staying away from love of these political puppets and having a consistent warning, concern. It's not so much about Bush, and it wasn't about Bush and martial law, nor was it about Obama, and it's not even necessarily, it doesn't even necessarily have to happen under Trump's watch. But if we want to talk about Russia involvement within our own nation, I've talked about it being a global new world order superstate, and meetings like this being as significant, if not more, than Bilderberg Group and Bohemian Grove. And so as people say, where was the concern? Years ago, I was around years ago. And by the way, if somebody wants to volunteer for a few hours to watch some old videos of mine, there is this period of 2007, the summer, and that's when I remember actually covering this. So that would be 11 years ago in Portland, Oregon. I covered this particular report. But now I'm going to cover more details. Now I'm going to bring something to your attention as we look at this report, right? President Putin of Russia arrived at the Bush family compound here Sunday for a 2-day visit, in which Bush was planning to mix the relaxation of family and fishing with the anxiety of a growing list of divisive issues. Mr. Putin's jet landed in New Hampshire, where Bush joined him for the helicopter ride back here. Mr. Putin then was delivered by limousine to the Bush home. Now, does this remind you, or does this not remind you of a high-level mafia meeting? I'm just asking. Does it sound like their meeting was out in the open? So when people do this mockery going, where was the concern then? There was concern then. And there's concern now. They weren't asking that. They're not doing, where was the concern then? To actually get a response from me. Or to get a response from you. When they say, where was the concern then? We were concerned then. And no one listened to us then. People got into their controlled Occupy. People got into the Tea Party. They were in that same controlled left-right paradigm, just like they are now, just not as obvious. People like to dance around a few conspiracy truths that are friggin' obvious just to promote their own political agenda. So there hasn't been so much of a waking up or red pilling, as far as I'm concerned. Not if we're going to compare it in a literal sense to waking up, like waking up to the Matrix. You want to take red pills all day long? Fine. There's a Family Dollar over there. Go ahead and buy your Boston baked beans all day long. Have your red pill. It's a lot of fructose corn syrup, though. You could say it's a placebo and you're waking up. It's still sugar. It's still a Boston baked bean. You want to talk about actually waking up and red pilling? How many people woke up 10 years ago to this and what this meant? Especially as you saw those fake showdown between Barack Obama and Vladimir Putin. That I remember doing this one video where I'm just in general mocking just the worship of Putin. It's not so much personal. It wasn't personal between the Alex Ansary of 2010 and the Vladimir Putin in that video of 2010. It's a video I did 8 years ago. It's mocking the idea of worshiping a dude. Someone having like a hip-hop soundtrack like boom, jump, boom, boom, jump, and how in plain sight it was the Masonic imagery of that pro-Putin hip-hop video. Boom, and just the manufactured talking points of a Vladimir Putin being like, almost like a sole superhero, power figure against the world elite, and how Alex Jones was instrumental in propping that up. And yet, if that's the case, here we have this meeting, going back to a few more details of this report, right? Family dinner of lobster. They're also on a speedboat. Now, this is what comes to mind. It's like a meeting of the mafia. Now, I want you to think about that scene from Casino, where Pesci and his brother go outside, and they're using a toothpick to pick at their teeth, but they realize they're being surveilled by the FBI. So what are they doing? They're covering their mouth. Why? Because they're reading their lips. The FBI is reading their lips. They actually brought someone in to read their lips, someone that was an expert at that. So they started to cover their mouths. That's what this reminds me of. So we have here the situation in 2007 that neither the left or right media really took very seriously. And Bush was on his way out anyways. And Obama was bringing change we can believe in to make America great again in his own little paradigm, right? Change we can believe in. Yes, we can. Yes, master. Yes, we can. Then we saw all these diversions. Obama the devil, Obama the Antichrist, Obama the gay cokehead, Obama the foreigner. But are all those really links to Obama really being the puppet of the New World Order that he was, taking us further into debt? Or were we set into wild goose chases, chasing the Obama Hussein devil, as opposed to the legitimate puppet of the New World Order, helping Russia along, helping China along, just like the current standing president? Same system. How do we know there weren't any private meetings between Obama and Vladimir Putin? Or were there? People are going to say, well, why wasn't there concern then about this meeting with Putin and Bush? And I'm here to tell you, there was. And if you haven't seen my video interviewing a guy as far back as 2007 of his nightmare of Russia and China walking up in our grill here in this US of A continent, go to youtube.com/Alex Ansary and watch that video with Leon Ligon. We did multiple interviews, right? Because I just wanted you, from different years, sharing something that was traumatic for him to even talk about. He doesn't even want to talk about it anymore. He's even left the United States. As for myself, I left the Portland, Oregon area, right? And I'm going to see myself, even in the future, traveling to different parts of Colorado as things heat up. But I do believe with every cell in my being that we are heading towards this stage-managed conflict, maybe we can avert it, right? But there's a reason why we've seen this close relationship. And here we have George Bush Sr., Mr. Skull and Bones, to the left. There's a video on YouTube also echoing the in plain sight symbolism of conspiracy theory with Mel Gibson, including Skull and Bones 322 featured in the Hollywood movie, with references to MK Ultra and the whole 9 yards. Wrapping things up here, waiting for the sun to come up to power the next round of videos. So this is like the mafia meeting. And see, discussing American plans for a missile defense system. So there were plans for war then between the West and the East, and yet they were vacationing together in plain sight, smiling together. But most of all, getting away from anywhere where they could be recorded. So you have situations where they're out on a boat, they're traveling here. This is the biggest point of all. And a year later, what was going on? We had this situation with the Sedia. You see, and if you can have two world leaders meet together in private to plan out how they're going to act, right, then they don't have to use liaisons. They don't have to have other people know too much. And that's what I think was happening then. And that's what I think is happening essentially right now. I'm Alex Ansary. This is a unique perspective you're going to get on this whole thing. Please subscribe to this channel. Please support on a monthly basis over at the links down below, if you care to do so. But, people say, why wasn't there outrage or concern or reporting about this meeting in 2007 between Putin and Bush? And I'm here to tell you that I did. That I found it relevant then, and I find it relevant